Welcome to Analysis on Chain's review of Project Horde. For those of you that are not familiar with Analysis on Chain, we are a research group, essentially the research arm of Exclusive on Chain, which is founded by Jason Pearson. The idea is, the research arm creates a portfolio of all the different use cases of Web3. We carry out detailed research into various projects. So far, we've looked at Pan Am drones, we've looked at NeoFilms NFT, SwapTC, we're now looking at Hordes, we've looked at Alchemy trades, and we've had quite a high demand for more reviews to be carried out based on our detailed research. So this is the first time we're going to be using this format. And it's something that Jason and I have put together. It's very detailed. It's 15 pages. It's probably about 13 pages of that is actual research, and it's designed to give people a sort of like a one-stop shop to show how we've looked into the project from executive summary to essentially high level about the tokenomics, how the project actually works, its different utility, some data resource points, IGN analytics, and then I've put in the references as well, some of the other tools we've used, in which you are more than welcome to reference and use for yourselves as well. It's good practice. And then we've got a score report, which will change depending on which project we look at, in terms of like certain criteria might not be applicable. But this is, I think it's well over like 30, I think so, well over 35 different bits of criteria for which we've assessed Horde and come to a fair result. Now it's worth pointing out that this is completely unbiased. We approach this on a factual basis, with no opinions, and we're just here to give you the rundown of the project that will arm you with enough information to understand the risks and understand how it works. And then it's up to you to then decide whether or not this is a level of risk you're willing to accept. We're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice. This is not legal advice, and this is not tax advice. So, Project Hordes. This is the contract address, which I have also verified, which I will just show you on here. This is the contract address. This is the official site for Horde, and these are all the holders. We can touch on that. Not all of these are the holders, as you know. Some of these refer to like Treasury, reward wallets, the LP, the LM. We'll go through this a little bit later on, as it's relevant to some of the criteria that I have later on in this review. So the executive summary. So now I know I've said Ponzonomics. I'm not calling it a Ponzi. Let's just make that absolutely clear. Ponzonomics refers to the need for constant buy pressure. So buy pressure to essentially overwhelm sell pressure in order for the project to have I wouldn't say sustainable, but a positive price action. Now Horde's a little bit different because it uses a liquidity management system to essentially provide a very attractive price range for investors, mainly DJs in this niche of DeFi. Essentially, a way for that to be quote unquote sustainable, it would need like an infinite supply of net positive inflow, and I'll talk about that later in our June analytics data to show what I mean by that. Now, Horde and a number of its influencers on Twitter talk about its decay model, which again I'll delve into a little bit when I go through that section. And I've just discovered the Ponzonomics is where protocol essentially relies heavily on new buyers. It's very common with these sort of node in inverted commas, in quotes projects. We've seen it with ones like Thor, Strong, Power, Hive. They require you to put some capital down, lock your capital, and then they provide a set rate of tokens back. So, and then the idea is that will just carry on for as long as the project survives. and in some cases, as long as you keep paying your fees, although there is no fees involved with Horde. Now, in terms of the LMS system, it's replenished by Treasury as well, and rewards pool. The LMS is also funded by other projects. So what they've done is, I've seen some other projects like Starlink Satellite, I think Furio, and there's another one as well, who are signed up. I don't think Starlink are, to be fair, but there are some projects that are signed up to partner with Horde's LMS. And what will happen is Horde will then take a percentage of every transaction for their partner using the LMS. It's just a way of providing revenue into the Horde project. Now, the Treasury itself, I think there's 2 Treasury wallets, which I'll cover in a bit. That is supplemented by revenue from investments that are on-chain. So it's quite common in DeFi that you'd see projects investing into other DeFi-based protocols. They also have a trading bot as well, which I'll come on to in a little bit, where apparently it's doing very well. And that will provide more revenue to the project. And there's a separate project, which I'll just touch on a little bit, again, within the Horde ecosystem, where holders can benefit. So the trading bot, it's other utility, and you can kind of think of this as like a separate entity from the sort of Ponzonomic type model that they've got for the Horde plots. Is you buy their zombie NFTs, which you can get, and I'll touch on that a bit later on. Which, in fact, no, let's go to that now, because I had it up on NFT Trade. Oh yeah, so it does look pretty cool. Which you can mint. When I last checked, they had over there's like 10,000 supply. I think they had over about 5,000 still left. So 4,000 still left to mint. And the idea is that which I'll cover later on, there's a percentage split goes to the holders based on the performance of the revenue used from minting will then go towards the trading bot, and then a percentage of that will be split amongst its holders. But again, I'll dive into the percentages of that a bit later on. And if we then go back to executive summary, in terms of further utility, they've got a DEX which they're working on, which again with other DeFi projects within this sort of niche. You've seen quite a few projects working on DEXs, Vapor nodes, sort of Vapor Financial, Wand have got a Space DEX, Thor been working on one, I think, some other projects as well, and then they're also building a tower defense style game as well. So there will be some NFTs which I believe you can be used as part of the gameplay, and it will be a revenue generating utility for the Horde ecosystem. There is no release date for that yet, but it is being worked on, and there are some sneak peeks which you can actually see in their Discord. So the project token and details. So we've got 4 founders. We've got Will, Jaden, however you want to say it, Tommy Gunn and Alex. They're all anon, so I can't verify anything to do with their history. I know some people have mentioned in the Discord about working on other projects, apparently. Same for their lead dev as well, who's worked in TradeFi. But if they're anon and I don't have LinkedIn, I have LinkedIn, but I can't verify their details on LinkedIn, then I have to be fair and say I can't verify the history. I can't verify if they all are exactly 4 different people or not, and I can't verify any sort of lead dev or legal structure as a result. So source of funding uses essentially Ponzonomics. FT min sales is for the zombie trading bot, which I've covered a little bit earlier and I'll go into later on. Revenue from on-chain investments, so that'll be the other projects that they are invested in. And there's also other projects using Horde's LMS. So use cases, it says Ponzi, apologise for that, I should say Ponzonomics. Gaming, trading, and gaming in terms of the tower defense game they've got, trading with their trading bot, and the DEX is upcoming. So although that is use cases, it's still in build. That is yet to be delivered yet. In terms of the token name, it is the Horde symbol, which we've seen on DEX Screener, so you can see up here. Market cap, now as at the time of writing this report, it was 109.7 million. It's gone down a little bit now, it's 109.6. All-time high, I worked out to be roughly $111.57, and that was just essentially me, I think, try my best to try and get the top. So that was at all-time high around about mid-April, and that was shortly after launch, as you'd expect and you commonly see with a lot of these type of projects. And their all-time low, $98.45, which I think I got, what was it, around about there? It's around about here. So it's roughly about $98.45, the August time. I can talk about that a little bit later and what this red line is about as well. So that's a little bit about the project and token details there. So how does it actually work? How does Horde provide returns, not guaranteed to make a profit, but returns of their hordes per day? So Horde has got 4 different types of plots. The first plot is called an Uber plot, and it costs 15 hordes, and it also needs all the NFT scenes, which are 3 as a wasteland cabin, search and rescue, church square. I believe they're sold out, and in terms of return, you'd get 0.15 horde per day. Gives you a lifespan of 333 days, and then it decays, and that's it, done. And at the end of it, you've got a choice of either compounding or, which you can also do beforehand as well if you wanted to. You can compound or you can buy a new plot. Now, it's immune to mutation, which I'll cover in a bit. Mutation is something very new they've introduced to help stem the sell pressure. That's not to eliminate it, just to stem it. And then you've got the horde plot. So that costs 10 hordes. It gives out 1% of the cost of horde. In fact, all of them give out 1% of the cost of the actual plot. It's got a lifespan of 300 days. Soul stones. So this little group here, soul stones and soul runes, are called fractional plots, which they've talked about in their white paper here. The idea behind it is to give people perhaps lesser financial means to get involved in the Horde ecosystem. And the mutation side of it, so if you claim at any point, the plots then become they mutate, so that all the plots are already infected. Every single plot is infected, but it mutates. Basically, the return is halved. So let's say you had a Soulstones plot, you go from 0.05 to 0.025, and then your lifespan would actually double as well. So this can be avoided. The only way to avoid it is attaching one of the NFT scenes to these different plots, which I've described up here, which is the Wasteland, Search and Rescue, and a Church Square. In terms of decay, once the lifespan of the plot ends, then the plot stops producing hordes, and as I said, you can either claim a compound or you can do it beforehand. Now, I had a look in their Discord, and there's a guy, I think, was it a guy called Chunky Monkey, I think, or something like that. Or someone else in the Discord has come up with a couple of strategies which people can choose from. Now, I'm not saying that these are guaranteed to give you income, so give you profits or anything like that, but there's a couple of strategies you can do. You can just literally carry on for the entirety of the plot's life and then just claim at the end, or you can claim once you've got enough to create a new plot, and then you just carry out a strategy of doing the same thing pretty much every single time. And it's worked out from what they've got on their Discord to be, I think option 2 has been worked out mathematically to be the most efficient. So yeah, if you're interested, have a look in their Discord. It is available. Yeah, there is a more efficient way of making more Horde, but that's assuming you are willing to tolerate that level of risk. And I touched about the Z or the zombie NFTs earlier, trading bots as a service, which I believe starts tomorrow. I think they said on Halloween. So the mint cost is $400 USDC. It's the first, I believe, it's the first project can be minted on a plethora of different networks using Chainlink service. I think it's using Chainlink's oracles. So it's Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Ethereum, Arbitrum, Phantom, and Optimism. And mint split. So if you purchase 400 if you use 400 USDC to buy a trading bot, you'd 40% goes to trading bot, 30% goes to liquidity manager, LMS pool, 25% to the Horde pool, and 5% to charity. And revenue split 50% to holders, 25% back to the trading bot, 20% to liquidity manager, 5 back to Horde. So essentially 50 between holders, 50 the rest of the Horde ecosystem. Now, June Analytics. So this is interesting. The reason I wanted to bring up June Analytics is because I spoke earlier about sort of the Ponzonomics side of the project. And I just wanted to show you some interesting data. Again, this is not to sway anyone's opinion or anything like that. It's just to show you how hard times are in crypto at the moment, and also the effect of the number of plots, like new plots being bought by investors, and what that has on the general ecosystem. So if I go to June here, which I'm sure some of you guys have used. If you haven't, check it out. You can search for projects in here, and it can bring back all sorts of bespoke metrics created by crypto enthusiasts, project maxis, whatever you want to call them, and they will give you all sorts of information as regards to trading volume, how many has been minted, and things like inflows and outflows, number of plots, things like that. So this one's particularly interesting. If you sort of notice here, Horde has done very, very well since its since day of inception, really. And then things start to get a little bit difficult. I'd probably say around about here we start to see a sort of negative trend. And if you go to the query results here, it's kind of backed up by the data. So if you go right to the last page, you can see Daily Net have done incredibly well. So that's a lot of new investors coming in, new inflow, and then people obviously then start to sell, which is natural. And then you start to see a bit of a correction, really, I suppose, in like the Daily Net. Looks a little bit positive afterwards, and then when we start getting to the summer, and obviously the world's economy is starting to take a bit of a dip, you start to see quite a few negatives creeping in around about September time. You can sort of see here, but up to then it was looking okay, and I think it's probably around about maybe September, August they started thinking about this new way of introducing this mutation. But yeah, you can see Daily Net starts to go down quite a bit, and where we're at now, like it's really like the sell pressure is massively taken over, and it's partly sell pressure and partly just lack of new plots being built. That's a lot of money to use every day. If you go to the number of new plots, or plots created by date, again you can see it just dips off. I think the announcement about the change is around about, I think it's around about here, wasn't it? You can just start to see it just dips off massively, which is a shame, really. So yeah, that's just some of the data, portion of data that we've used from June Analytics. Have a look for yourself. There's other people that have created Horde metrics on there as well. So that's a sort of high level of Horde's ecosystem and the stats you can use to monitor things like its number of plots created, TVL, how the mint was going, and inflow and outflow. What we've then done is we've tried to come up with a number of what we feel is useful and valuable criteria to assess the overall score of Horde. And the score is like, you've just got to think of it as a guide, right? Overall it covers security, tokenomics, marketing, community management, which I think is a fair high level criteria to cover for these sorts of projects. And we've tried to sort of then tried to sort of say, okay, well, what would you consider would be like high standards within each sort of granular level criteria for those four, and what we consider to be the lowest, and we just based it off of that. So every project will get the same treatment. So first off, we looked at is it a proxy? Now, proxy contract, for those who don't know, it's essentially like it's an immutable sort of version of the real contract that would have been like audited and checked in this case by Certic. So if Horde wanted to change anything in their ecosystem, which they can do and which they have done, then they would do it, and the proxy would just like essentially act as like the URL, the pointer towards that contract. And unfortunately, because it's a proxy, we can't actually go in and verify, like physically go into the main contract and verify things like the different functions they've got in there, like blacklisting, all that kind of thing. There are one or two ways you can that I've been able to look at a couple of functions, but it does limit us to what we can do. And as a result, what we said is any data that we've not been able to verify, we've just given it a 1 to be absolutely fair, because we can't we can't confirm what's in there really, and that poses a risk to investors. So based on that, we've given that a 1. Verified contracts, now that's got an asterisk just to say, look, we can't verify it, so we have to be fair and give it a 1 as a result. So 5 being the best one, so that gives me, that's a good point to sort of mention how the score works. So scores out of 5, you add all these up, and then whatever the total that is, divide it by the total of how many 5s, and then that's your percentage, and then multiply by 100, and that's your percentage score. Anyway, back to this, verified contract, because proxy, we can't verify it. And yeah, according to that, implementation contracts are not verified. The mint function, that we couldn't verify. We did see one in the liquidity pool, the liquidity pair, but that was all okay. It was all checked out all right. There's nothing malice intended or anything like that we saw. So, but again, because it's a proxy, we can't verify it. Import safe math, again, we can't verify it, so I had to give that a 1. Fixed supply, yes, it's got 1,111,111, so top marks, got a 5. Halt trading function, again, can't verify it, so we've had to be fair and give that a 1. So buy tax, I can verify that, so I used this transaction, and I was able to check it on BSC scanner, and I couldn't see any buy tax as a result, so that scores a high 5. And then sell tax, so yeah, I'll give you an example actually. Let's go to sell tax. So yeah, 20%, I think I worked out was, let's get my calculator out. We do 1.025 minus 0.205, you get 0.82. So yeah, that does check out to be 20%. So that was all good, so that's how I verified it. But as it's a proxy, obviously, it's quite possible that they have the ability to change that whenever they need to. 10%, I'll do exactly the same. I'll be able to verify for this as well. So As a result, I've given the guys a 2 for that, just because of the percentages. But obviously because they've got all this as well, just sort of balanced out a little bit. Transfer tax 10%, as far as I could tell, so we gave that a 3. Oh, cool. And then if we then go to maximum buy tax, again, proxy can't verify, unknown, don't believe there is, but if we can't verify it. Now, where does the creator funds come from? So the guys, I did manage to find the multi-sig, and I had a look at the multi-sig was used, trying to sort of see if I could trace anything, and I couldn't see anything, but I have to mark it as unknown because the team ran on. As a result, I can't verify this. But I did map everything out, which you can see on the Miro app, and there's nothing, like, I couldn't see anything in there that was a cause of concern at all. So, exchange all seems to be moving around. There's a KuCoin hot wallet. The ones in orange are the different multi-sig holders. There is Tornado Cash. Don't be alarmed, that's in red. Like, not everyone that uses Tornado Cash is doing something untoward. And that's not to cause any FUD for the project at all. Just pointing all this stuff out. So there was nothing that I could see that sort of gave me any suspicions or arousals or anything like that. So that moves on to is the contract announced. So according to the Certic audit, which I will come on to here, I believe the centralization risk one mentioned about that it's not renounced. So, yeah, it's permanent renouncing the ownership. And then what the guy said is, so they would not be renouncing the contract. And I get it. It's based on, the way their LMS, their ecosystem works. So I understand it's got a purpose for it. It's absolutely no problem. But obviously, not renouncing contract does give a level of inherent risk. So we've just marked that as a 3, to be fair, because we understand its purpose within the overall ecosystem for Horde. And just to sort of verify that as well, I believe I've been able to show, what was it, 033, that's the contract. That was the download for the holders. Yeah, so this was it, it's transferring ownership away. So that's from the contract creation, and transfer ownership has been given away. So again, I've been able to confirm that, so that's no issue. So funds are sent to a multi-sig wallet. Right. So I went on Genosis Safe, which I'll talk you through here as well. So I took the address from the Certic audit, which is over here. And I took this address, and I've popped that into Genosis Safe. We can see these are the 4 different multi-sig holders, which I also mapped out on Miro, as I showed you guys earlier. So this address there, and then these 2 addresses here. Cool. So yeah, these are assets, and you can monitor transactions on there as well. I had a look through these. There's nothing untowards that I could see going on. All seems legit. This is what I was talking about earlier about functions. So remove from blacklist. If you can remove from blacklist, then I'm assuming you have got an add to blacklist as well. And you can see they can do all kinds of stuff like set fees and that. So there was nothing in here from what I could see that raised any alarms, but you can also see that there is transactions going on as well. So the multi-sig is being used, it's currently being used as you'd expect. Verified, so yeah, 2 of 4. So that's the other thing as well. If we go back to the multi-sig, it does tell you the number of signatories required for it, which, again, with a multi-sig, personally, I would like to see, as we've seen with others, like a third party involved, a member from the community, maybe an influencer, and you'd have like 3 or 4 as well. But for what it looks like, and when I asked in their Discord as well, it's members of the team, and it's 2 of the 4 members of the team, which could be safer, but that's I've not seen anything there to suggest. So that covers the multi-sig, and then this is just for information purposes. So yeah, I've been able to verify these contracts that were mentioned in their Discord, and just from what people have posted in there, be able to check those out. But yeah, when Treasury checked out, there wasn't anything in there again that I thought. Sorry about that, guys. It took me a little while. Yeah, so this is their Treasury. Doing very well indeed. And it just takes a little bit of time to load up. Sorry about the lag. My connection here is not fantastic. But yeah, you can see they've got BUSD, they've got some ETH, got some AVAX. They've got quite a bit on Anchor Protocol as well. So yeah, I mean, it's all there, it's all verified. So again, it checks out, no issues there at all. It's just for information purposes, really. Yeah, we've been through these already. Fallback functions. So again, I can't verify it. We've had to give a 1. Audit, insert it. So yeah, we sort of went over that. So with the CertiK audit, you have this centralization risk, which we discussed earlier, which is marked as major, but I've pointed out that obviously the way their contracts work is for the benefit of running the LMS and their ecosystem. So they have resolved quite a number of issues. In fact, let's just look at the summary there. You can see they've resolved quite a large number and have acknowledged 8. You've got the breakdown here. So 1 critical resolve, 1 major. The acknowledged one is what we've talked about, centralization risk. They've mitigated 1 as well. 2 medium resolved. And then it's just minors and informational. I think that's just around like code structure. And yeah, if we go into this one, which is mitigated, so moving the node distribution is not an option. It's core functionality. So yeah, I think that's a fair compromise to alter Treasury pool and reward pools. That's a very good way of mitigating it. And then all of these have been resolved. Third-party dependencies. Yeah, there's nothing in there that really looks to be of any big concern. So that's the audit. And you can see the files that they've reviewed, which I'm not able to gain access to. But yeah, they've looked at Node Manager, LM pool. They have done the audit. It's all proven to be there. It's all good. Liquidity is not locked as well. So how did I find that out? I think it was mentioned in potentially the audit, but I did also have a look at this thing called Dex Tools. So you can type in like the token, and you can type in that's another way of doing it. It's like a name of a contract as well. And you can see here, this where it is locked is normally got like a turquoise field symbol, but it's not. And if you click on it, it hasn't actually got any locked liquidity that's detected. So yeah, I mean, it just poses a risk. I'm not trying to say that causes any malice or any malicious intent or anything like that, but as I understand as well, it's also needed for the LMS, which, again, it's part of their ecosystem. But obviously, that does also produce an inherent risk as well, which we have to highlight. So I'm getting that free just because of the need for it to be used in their ecosystem. And then biggest whale amount was 497. So what I did is I went on to Horde's contracts, number of holders. I downloaded the spreadsheet onto CSV, and then I deleted this, and this. I looked at that, and yeah, it looks like their biggest holders, I think, is this one, this person here. But again, that's tiny percentage, which is good. So they scored top marks on that. I got a 5. Yeah, absolutely. Creator, again, we can't verify it. So by that, I don't know who the dev is in terms of like contracts and stuff. So we've had to be fair because it's a proxy as well. Like we just had to give that a 1. So owner stuff, again, information purposes, just not applicable. Team member, I've purely based this off of the multi-sig. So that's what I put those in. So they match up with what I've input on Miro as well. Phones go off chain. They don't, this isn't project 79, so none of this was applicable. Encryption of data keys, this isn't an alchemy trading bots project, so again, none of that was applicable. Public facing devs, nope. I know the guy's name was mentioned in one of the MAs. Oh god, was it Hansa or something? But again, like, if you're not publicly facing, you're not docs, I can't completely verify, so we've had to go van on. So actual docs, no, I can't check it. Project relying on Ponzonomics, again, trading, chain investments, been all that earlier. Does the project have good traction? Absolutely. I've seen every Tom, Dick and Harry shitting this on Twitter and everywhere else. And then what I also did is check their follow account, and I have to say they've done really well on that to keep out fake followers. So is that audit still running? Oh yes. So I kicked this off before the meeting started. It took a little while to run. So we have a look at the Horde tweets audit. Yeah, I mean they've actually smashed it out of the park. That's a really, really good score. So, you know, their engagement, their followers is absolutely 100% genuine. So they've done really well there. And again, yeah, I think that ties in. Like, a lot of us that are on CT would know that Horde's been talked about. It's a lot of portfolios as well. We've seen lots of Pelton, DeFi Runner, Professor DJ and stuff, talking about on Twitter and doing various threads and videos. So yeah, they scored a big 5 on that. And then major whales, no, absolutely no major whales at all. We covered that. So that's a 5. Good, they've done really well there. I've seen some examples of how they handle FUDs. I'm probably going to put in that back after this, hopefully not. And they have handled it very well. I think it was Will that I saw in the chat, some of the mods. You know, they take all questions, they answer it respectfully. They haven't kicked anyone out from what I've seen on there, or certainly needed to. So you know, you've got to respect that. So they've community management wise, they've handled that extremely well. The site, it's okay. Like, my eyesight's absolutely terrible, so things like this don't really help me as much. But the whole theme fits the project really well, which I'll cover in a bit, which is there, I think. So they've done really well. It's not unique in a sense that, you know, there are other projects like this, essentially, you know, passive income in quotes. But in terms of the way that they've put all this together, I think it's been put together extremely well. Experience, like, I can't, you know, it's add-on team. Like, you know, anyone could, I'm not saying they are, but anyone could put together a, you know, CV and just be add-on and stuff. So because I can't verify it, I've had to give that a 1. So yeah, that brings us to the score, which is 44.24%. So if I was to sort of summarize that, they probably scored highest on like the marketing, community management side of engagement, but the security side, the tokenomics, that we struggle to, you know, there is a very high inherent level of risk just based on how this works and the anonymity of the team. So that's why it's got that score there. And then it's just a reference point, so that also confirms it's 2 out of 4 owners, as I mentioned earlier, for the multi-sig to sign off. And yeah, that just talks about a lot of liquidity, so that's just another reference point that I did earlier. And then these are some of the, well, these are the majority of the references and tools that we've used to verify data. So Discord, Token Sniffer as well, that just basically double confirmed whether the contracts were proxy or announced and stuff. We've got PooCoin as well, which despite their name, there's actually some really good tools on there. You can sort of trace some of the wallet interactions as well. In fact, let me see if I can show you guys. Dev wallet checker, and then so yeah, it takes a little while to load up, but this just basically goes through all the wallets and it shows you some of the activity. And I was able to verify these on Genesis Safe as well, and on BSC scan. So again, like, you know, no issues there. There's nothing, absolutely anything untoward going on. Yeah, they've obviously got the Medium page I've checked out just to learn about their decay model, what they're up to in terms of future utility. We've been through their DAP. We've just used the follower audit to check fake followers and stuff. They scored top marks on that. Been through Genosis Safe. We've been through one of the analytics from Sam Singler. BSC scan and just some of the transaction history as well. And then in terms of that's pretty much it, guys. That is the project covered from top to bottom. Like you can see all the detail we've been into from top to bottom. I'd like to thank you all for listening to our review of Horde.